Welcome to the One Take Wonder that is episode 7, The Artist and the Caterpillar. Proudly brought to you by Movement Apparel. Check them out on Instagram and their website, movementapparel.ca. Don't forget to use my discount code, I am an artist, for 15% off at checkout. I am your hostess with the mostest, Giulia Tripoli, and today you are stuck with just me. 11 years ago, on my 25th birthday, I was in Toronto for a series of gigs and decided I wanted a tattoo to commemorate my quarter of a century. I got a uniquely designed butterfly on my right wrist, made up of all the things that made me. A treble clef and bass clef are the top two wings. That was for my love of music. The center is a Virgo symbol to represent my siblings. We are all September babies. A heart for my parents and a star for my Nana. The bottom two wings were made up with the words live life. I purposefully made a tattoo faux pas and faced this butterfly towards me rather than the outside world because it was for me. It was a pledge to become the woman I knew I wanted to be. It was the hope that one day I would find my way and my why. I had also told myself that day that when I truly figure out who I was meant to be, when I truly understood my journey, the moment I knew my why, I would get another tattoo. This time of the caterpillar, to commemorate all that I've been through and to honor where I came from. That tattoo was inked just this past week. She resides on my arm, below the butterfly, in a space that has been empty for 11 years, waiting for this moment. Now, I understand that my journey is not over, but understanding my purpose and my why, that's my caterpillar moment. And here is how I got there. We are now 7 weeks into this new podcast, and I have learned so much. Accepting, understanding, learning, unlearning, relearning, listening, appreciating, and so many of those aha and light bulb moments. We touched on, first and foremost, the road less traveled. That was about my journey and knowing that we can choose our own paths, our own lanes. Then it was the dream, to have one, to have many, big ones, small ones, and put them into action. The mirror theory, what we see in others is a reflection of ourselves. The ultimate pivot, redirection is where it's at. Adapt, 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 and what's meant to be will be. The bow tie philosophy. Now, this applies to everything in life. B, be mentally present. O, open. W, willing. And then the tie, learning to tie everything together, especially in those uncomfortable conversations. Lastly, we had the gig worth losing. To know when to say no. You must KNOW before you say NO. Now, all of these factors, along with my lives and many other wonderful conversations, have helped me understand so much more about myself and my why. Recently, I spoke to Samuel Davilmar on his live show, The Movement, and it got me thinking. I don't think everyone even realizes that they should even have a why. So many float through life unaware and don't even reach their full potential ever. That's so sad. We never stop and ask ourselves anything, why we do anything at all. Even small whys aren't being addressed, so why would we ever ask ourselves that big why? This goes with everything. Think about it. Things we do naturally in our everyday lives, the way we brush our teeth, how we pronounce words, our clothes folding techniques. How and why did these things come to be? Then go further, our natural opinions on food, movies, fashion, people, who we surround ourselves with. Why do we surround ourselves with them? Why do we think this way? I think it's all based on experiences. And most of these experiences are unconscious or subconscious as we are growing up and we watch our parents, our role models, listen to teachers, family, TV. And I guarantee you, we never really stopped and asked why. We just do. We don't question our schooling. Wonder if we're being taught is even legit. Wonder if what we're seeing on the internet is really true, or if the news is fake news, or push ourselves to have any type of uncomfortable conversation. Knowing your why means asking why to so many other elements. I have always been a bit of a black sheep, someone very curious and very stubborn in questioning everything. Questioning everything led me to the reconsideration of boundaries and space. Why do we allow certain people, places, or things to occupy space in our lives? Now, boundaries are not selfish, and you cannot be offended if someone expresses their boundaries to you. We need to normalize this. Boundaries help create safe spaces mentally and physically. We need to be conscious of who and what we are giving space to. Space for thinking about different ways of adapting. Space for creating change. And space for people we think we need to make space for is something we really need to look into. Because we all know dancers say yes to everything. Out of fear, out of eagerness, out of naiveness, saying yes to 17,000 pieces in one show and not being able to appreciate a single moment helps no one. Not being fully present in rehearsal or on stage, not being able to really be there because all we're doing that evening is a million quick changes. When making decisions of what to hold space for, take time. I used to always think I had to answer immediately or I would be canceled. I used to always think I had to answer, oh, yes, please, and thank you so much, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, or I would be completely shut off. I remember even being threatened on multiple occasions. We need to always consider all aspects before answering. Spoiler alert, I still said no to so many things. Question everything and start picking and choosing proper safe spaces. We did small whys, boundaries, space. Now let's talk about something a little more uncomfortable. Let's talk shame. Let's talk hate. Let's talk anger. These are feelings that derive from a negative place. These are feelings that derive from within that we project outwards upon seeing or hearing something that triggers us. Our natural reaction is to live in that negativity, to wallow in misery, to put our anger onto others, because it's way easier than looking into how we truly feel. It is way easier than dealing with what is actually going on inside of us. This relates to our major why. We need to stop and consider these minor whys for a moment. Why are we angry? Why do we hate? Why do we feel the need to shame others? What is really happening for me on the inside? Now, I'm not saying don't be angry, don't be sad, don't be upset. I'm simply saying it's important to try and understand why. Before you come after someone else for how they handled things, what they said, what they did, look internally as to why that was your gut reaction in the first place. Why did that even trigger you? Because it most likely has way more to do with you and less about the person you're about to shame or get angry at. Maybe we can look at it like this. Since we cannot solve an issue or problem with the same energy or feeling that created it, here are my suggestions for causes and cures. Cause is hate. Cure is love. Cause is anger. Cure is passion. Cause is shaming or canceling. Cure is accountability. If you are uneasy about someone's post or response to something, take a minute and ask yourself why. We cannot just go around shaming and attacking. It won't help us change anything for the better. Ask yourself why. Identify the root of your anger, and then perhaps choose to have an open conversation with this person, especially if you care about them. Holding one another accountable can be a beautiful thing. But shaming and complaining gets us absolutely nowhere. We need to stop complaining. We need to get to changing. Understand that your feelings are valid, which means other people's feelings are also valid. If it's important enough for you to feel angry about it and complain about it, then it should be important enough to understand it properly, to be able to articulate it well, and then communicate from a place of wanting to make that situation better. If you are completely complacent and unbothered, now that's a whole other story. We should also be allowing for people to grow, allowing them to change for the better, because we are all on different points of our caterpillar cocoon butterfly journey. If all we do is attack without letting people acknowledge what they've done and give them the chance to do better, then the narrative doesn't change. It will never change. We will still live in a world where there are shitty people or people doing shitty things. Doesn't it make more sense to rehabilitate? To further educate? Our brains do have the ability to rebalance and alter perception, alter opinions, change. With the exception, of course, of those who have drastic conditions, humanity can ultimately be good if given the chance to do so. If we fully cancel people for something we perceive as wrongdoing, the narrative stays the same. They will continue to do wrong. They will just have been canceled by you. However, if we hold them accountable, communicate, advise to seek professional help, offer professional help, they can change. Then the narrative can change, and then they can educate others on how to become better humans. It is often said, do not make decisions when you are angry, and do not make promises when you are happy. Take the time to reflect always. Ask yourself why. What is your caterpillar? The energy in which you approach a conversation is most likely the energy you will get back. If I come at you yelling about something, you're going to yell back at me. And we're going to yell at each other, and no one's going to be listening, and nothing is going to change. If you are approaching someone, consider your tone, and if you are being approached, check your immediate defense mechanisms. If you are not purposefully hurting yourself or others, I believe you can do as you wish. Everyone can choose the lane they want to be in and how they want to evoke change, because we need everyone doing all things. And as most of us now live online, this principle applies to what we are posting and sharing. My posting advice is the same. So that you aren't just being performative and jumping onto the bullshit train, take a minute. Now, we see what people are posting and we think, oh, I should post this too. Oh, I should also share this. But do we take the time to really read it? Do we understand it? Is it true? Here's what I think. Save it. Read it later when you have the time and energy for it. Research a few more similar posts or resources. And if it still resonates with you, have a conversation about it. And if it still resonates with you, go for it. Post it. And maybe add a little something extra to show that you care, to show that you have learned something. Then talk about it and keep talking about it. Now, away from online, we have real life, which is COVID adjacent at the moment, but we can still grow. I think something that really hurts us greatly is our expectation of others. Now, this one took me a long time to learn, and I'm kind of still learning. I was forever expecting people to act, react, and be just like me. Expecting them to be in my brain, share my same logic, understand my thoughts, understand where I'm coming from. And then I blamed them for getting it wrong. But it was never about them. It was about me. I now know to have high hopes, but zero expectations. I will always believe in the good of humanity, but also that good presents itself in different ways. And also to know that sometimes I just have to let people go. That can later bring on better and greater change. Now, you can only change something that truly needs to be fixed. I will say again, you can only change something that truly needs to be fixed. Because sometimes it isn't broken. In fact, it works just fine. However, it might not be meant for you. Keep checking in with yourself. Keep searching for your why. I understand now, more than ever, that my why and my purpose revolve beautifully around the dance community. Arts and entertainment, the artistic process, the ability for artists to bring so much joy and understanding, and that dance can teach us all to be better human beings. We as dancers, artists, teachers, mentors have this responsibility. Imagine what we can do to teach younger people to see better, to be better. Diversity, inclusion. Imagine we help build a world where people only see good. Imagine these people go on to change actual laws, to change actual steps in our procedures. Just imagine what we can do if through our artistry we teach people to be better people. I know I cannot solve all problems, but I know I can do something. And that something is this: what is meant for me, the call-in. I have 2 videos up now on my IGTV series called The Call-In. For those of you that have seen them, shared them, sent me messages, I thank you. Let's keep that going. For those of you that haven't seen it yet, here is a quick recap. I called in the dance community to vow to say no to shitty people. Now this goes for all communities all over the world. And as opposed to a call out based on negativity, hate, or shame, this is a call in, a movement based on positivity, love, and the desire to put the good humans of our industry in the proper positions of power in order to create real change. It was to help so many of you understand that the innocent bystander principle no longer applies. These shitty people are not necessarily shitty with every single person they meet, so just because it didn't happen to you or you didn't see it with your own 2 eyes doesn't mean it didn't happen. Shitty people can also be people that have done good things. They can be men or women. They can be part of the community. They can be advocates for the community, respected by the community. They can have friends. They can have partners. They can even be your friend or partner. Also, to understand that there are different levels of shitty. I want to be clear that if your thought process is, well, so and so is not as bad as blah, blah, so I will still ride with them. Nope, 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 nope. Guilting people into showing up to your class is wrong. Forcing them to be in terrible rehearsal conditions is wrong. Telling them they can only be part of your program or else is wrong. Not being paid your worth when there is a clear budget is wrong. Shitty people can be manipulative, even while smiling. Any mistreatment or misconduct counts. It's not always as evident as physical or sexual assault. Mental and emotional pain, no matter how minute, exists and needs to be eliminated. Sometimes it is as simple as an honest conversation to inform the person of how shitty they're being. As I mentioned before, accountability, acknowledgement, allowing people the opportunity to change. Now, if after all that they refuse, that's a whole other story. Perhaps it takes a whole group to say no. And maybe now, as you can understand, it might take a whole movement. How many times have your friends complained to you about crappy people, crappy situations, crappy conditions, crappy treatment, crappy pay, but then you watch them go back over and over again to that same crappy situation? How many times have you done that? Stop complaining. Let's get to changing. Hold people accountable, especially if that someone is your friend, you care about them, or you even love them. You need to talk to them, not about them. Let's start there. If you have the time, energy, and space to openly communicate, please do so. We can do better, and we will. Are you ready to be called in? Ready to be called in at gmail.com was created, so for all of you ready to create great change, I am here for you. Part 1 was the call-in. That was me letting you all know that it's okay to say no. Part 2 is identifying what it is that you are passionate about changing and your unique skill set, which will allow you to help change it. From there, we are creating teams to evoke actual change. I know it can feel overwhelming at times with everything happening in the world, and you feel like you have to change everything. There are so many causes and so many platforms. The Amazon is still burning. The planet is still dying. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. We are moving forward with the Black Lives Matter movement. There's LGBTQ plus inclusion, and now even more sexual assault accusations. And that is just the tip of an iceberg. None of this is new stuff, but we are currently forced to really sit down and listen. Experience tells us that we don't all feel the same way about all of these issues because we haven't lived every single one of them. Now, we shouldn't feel badly that we haven't lived those experiences, but we should be doing our best wherever and whenever we can to help. The call-in allows like-minded people to come together and focus on one matter at a time that they feel they can truly change, rather than being overwhelmed by everything and not doing anything at all. This makes it possible for so much to get done, and also giving all those unsure of what to do the reassurance that everyone is doing one thing well, which allows us to do many things, which allows us to conquer so much. The call-in was my why. It is now time to search for yours. Now, we all know the quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Well, I am officially giving you that chance to be. Whatever it is that you've been upset about, frustrated, confused, or even complacent about, it is time to actually do something about it. No more complaining. Let's get to changing. We are in this together, community over competition. Are you ready for great change? Are you ready to be called in? Ready to be called in at gmail.com. Every day, ask yourself why. Every day, ask yourself why. Because we are all meant to become beautiful butterflies. And whether you are in caterpillar mode or the dreaded cocoon phase, please remember it's all part of the process, and it will be worth it.